Hi, I'm Ted Kofi, and welcome to another post. This one is called How Race Becomes a Currency of Exchange. And before I go on, please subscribe, comment, and share, and hit the notification button. It helps my content to become more visible to you when and where you want to watch it. So, the purpose of us going to school is in part to give us the ability to think critically, to observe our environment, to understand it, and also our behavior within it. It gives you a second pair of eyes, if you like, intellectually speaking, so that we can evaluate why we do what we do and change that which isn't working for us. Now, there are certain very obvious rules of nature. Take, for example, the law of gravity. All right. Now, you don't actually have to understand physics, and you don't have to go to school to learn about the laws of gravity. All you have to do is to trip over and whack your head on the pavement, and that'll be a quick learner that a certain principle is at play here. Applied to statistics, there's something called the law of the inertia of large numbers, which gives weight to confidence intervals and so on, and why statistics can become predictive if the numbers that you're collecting and observing are large enough. That's the law of the inertia of large numbers. Again, for that you might have to study it, but even common sense will tell you that the wider the universe you observe, the more you can define how that universe operates in principle. So, why do I say that race is a currency of exchange? Well, when racism becomes institutionalized, it certainly becomes a currency of exchange. Currency of exchange, say, for example, the dollar. Okay? Because oil is traded in dollars, what it does is that it creates constant demand for the American currency. It means that everybody in the world is trading on the basis of ownership and possession, and the value of that dollar has two impacts. First thing is that it keeps the dollar more buoyant than other currencies. It gives anybody who lives and works and gets paid in America in American dollars instant stability, more than other currencies. Now apply this to the matter of race. On account of the system of race established through colonialism and empire, okay, if you are able to establish the petrodollar of race, of whiteness, it means that everybody who is white, everybody who is identified as white, has a value and a demand for them which is greater than other ethnic races. When racism is institutionalized, essentially that's what you're doing. You're putting a value on whiteness which goes way beyond its intrinsic worth, purely and simply because you're creating demand for that thing and its associated characteristics, which we call whiteness. Now, why is it difficult to talk about? This is almost a law of nature, although a man-made law of the way we live. It's a man-made law, but it works pretty much effectively. If you go to anywhere where racism occurs, you will discover that the outputs of the judicial system, the educational system, the health system, employment, retention, promotion, even marital stability is likely to be not just correlated to, but caused by one's ethnicity. And that is something that, like the law of gravity, people who aren't white very quickly discover. It may be hidden to people who are white, but people who aren't white learn this law very much the same way as you learn about the law of gravity, by tripping over it. Okay, so of course, the end result of this ignorance by white people, or this refusal to acknowledge the presence of whiteness as a currency of advantage, is that it hides away the fact that this is an innately prejudicial system. And prejudice meaning that you judge things before the facts are in, is innately, in and of itself, hugely unfair. If I was white, I wouldn't want to be looking at that. I wouldn't want people to be telling me that I've got an unfair advantage, which is why I've got the things that I have, that I've achieved the things that I have, in part because I had a leg up in the system, because my colour is the petrodollar of human achievement and human enterprise in the world today. I wouldn't want to be looking at that. Not only that, I wouldn't want people who look like me talking about it all the time, because it might make them angry, feel hard done by, and want to change a system which, for me as a white person, is not broken at all, is working rather well in my advantage. So whenever there's been even the thought of oil being traded in any other currency than America, America's response has been hugely, hugely robust, and it's marshaled all its economic, political, sometimes even military might to ensure that oil, the very lifeblood of pre-pandemic economic activity, is valued and traded in dollars. Now, the relevance of this is global. People in Africa might sit there and think, well, Ted, you keep wittering on about this thing, but where I live, white people don't exist. Or if they are, they're just expats. They come and go. Except for South Africa, white people don't live in Africa. But they overlook one very important point, is that whereas all the natural resources that the world needs to maintain its current standard of living are largely found in Africa, the technology and the finance that is required to leverage those resources into liquid assets, into wealth, come from abroad. And so the currency of whiteness has huge impact in Africa. And what it does is that it means that those who are approved by people who are white, who own the finance and the technology, are likely to gain favor and have an unfair advantage in their environment, whether they are good for their native countries or not. That's irrelevant. What defines power, even in democracies, is who has the patronage of the currency of international exchange, which in this context becomes the matter of race. So that's why it's important in Africa. Of course, I don't need to explain it in this country. Which is European, this is Britain, we are, one, in the first place, in the vast minority of people here. Secondly, we don't have the heft to be able to push back against the huge advantages that the currency of one's ethnicity gives one in this environment. And it has the result of creating what I'm going to talk about in my next post. People who are convergent to whiteness i.e. people who seek to fit into whiteness just to get the trickle-down effect or trickle-down advantages of being associated with the currency of power, and a few, much fewer people who are divergent from white ethnicity, and they, of course, won't have the trickle-down patronage which results from the currency of ethnicity. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the video and watch out for my next post. I'm going to be talking about convergent